Have you ever wondered if the world around us is more plastic, more shapeable than we've been led to believe? Imagine reality like an ever-changing tapestry rather than a rigid brick wall. What if the power to weave new patterns in that tapestry lies in your own mind? Today, we're diving deep into the enthralling story of Jacobo Grinberg, a scientist, mystic, and explorer who vanished without a trace while unraveling the hidden potentials of human consciousness. Together, we'll explore the lost secrets he left behind, discover the blueprint he believed underpins our universe, and see how tapping into that blueprint might just flip everything you assumed about reality on its head. Ready to embark on this mind-bending journey? Let's get started. Before his mysterious disappearance in the mid-1990s, Jacobo Grinberg was recognized worldwide as a neuroscientist and psychologist with an unquenchable thirst for understanding consciousness. He didn't just read about spiritual phenomena he got in the trenches, setting up experiments on telepathy, shamanic healing, and the power of focused intention. For him, spirituality wasn't a murky realm of legends and tall tales. It was a set of phenomena well worth studying with the rigors of the scientific method. That alone was enough to raise eyebrows. But what really made him stand out was the audacity of his claim. Everything that we consider real is born from a cosmic hologram of pure information that our minds continuously shape. So how did this mild-mannered researcher wind up tangled in talk of disappearing into thin air, rumored abductions, and clandestine intelligence operations? Conspiracy theories aside, his own work was radical enough to make anyone's head spin. He believed that human consciousness holds a key like a master password to the root software of the universe. With that password, you wouldn't be limited by ordinary laws of physics. You could speak directly to the underlying code that molds and remolds everything we know. This perspective doesn't just gently nudge you to think differently. It practically demands a total reevaluation of your place in the grand cosmic scheme. Growing up in Mexico, Grinberg's fascination with the mind started early. While some kids might fixate on comic books or building blocks, Jacobo was already devouring psychology texts and pondering big existential questions. As an adult, he earned degrees in both psychology and neurophysiology and became so steeped in brain research that he could probably map out neural pathways in his sleep. But Grinberg wasn't your run-of-the-mill lab scientist. He had an equally intense passion for esoteric traditions, particularly shamanism. You could call him a scientist by day and a metaphysical explorer by night. One of his most famous encounters was with a legendary Mexican healer named Pachita, who purportedly performed psychic surgeries without standard medical tools. Imagine someone extracting diseased tissue and plopping in a healthy replacement organ, then stitching you up in the span of a few minutes, all without typical anesthesia or any advanced technology. It sounds like a scene out of a fantastical novel, but Grinberg claimed to have witnessed this multiple times. Instead of concluding it was an elaborate hoax, he launched a quest to figure out how such seemingly impossible acts might be explained by undiscovered principles of consciousness. For Grinberg, the explanation hinged on an invisible network of information he dubbed the latis. Picture a vast ocean of data that permeates everything like the source code of a video game. Your mind, in this analogy, is the controller or keyboard. With skillful input, you can actually change things in real time. According to Grinberg, our brains are constantly interfacing with this lattice, selecting and filtering from the ocean of possibilities to create the day-to-day reality we see, hear, and touch. Most of us do this filtering unconsciously, so our lives feel like they're on autopilot. But imagine if you could consciously grab the reins. You might alter probabilities, manifest objects, or bend the usual rules of space-time. Let's be honest, it sounds fantastical. Telekinesis, instant healing, miraculous transformations, we tend to write them off as fairy tale illusions. Yet Grinberg pointed to historical accounts of spiritual masters, such as yogis known for levitation or Catholic saints rumored to float during ecstatic prayers, as potential evidence. His perspective was that these are not random miracles, but orchestrations of mind interacting with the underlying code of reality. Just like certain video game, pros can execute flashy moves that most beginners can only dream about. These masters might have hacked the system by stepping into deeper coherence with the lattice. You might be wondering, if all of us have access to this cosmic code, why aren't we walking through walls or growing wings on a whim? The catch, Grinberg explained, lies in something he called neuronal field coherence. He believed our brains produce a unique energy field, a constantly shifting kaleidoscope that lines up with the lattice. Under normal circumstances, this alignment is weak or inconsistent, a bit like trying to watch a movie on a glitchy streaming service. To do the so-called impossible, you need a rock-solid connection to the cosmic data stream. And that requires training, heightened awareness, and a faith strong enough to override centuries of cultural and personal conditioning. This might sound a lot like mind over matter claims from spiritual teachers, but Grinberg backed up his arguments with lab experiments. One of his most groundbreaking studies involved something he dubbed transferred potential. If you and a partner sat quietly together, synchronizing your breathing and focusing on forging a deeper connection, your brain waves would begin to show unusual similarities. Then, when you were separated sometimes by kilometers, Grinberg found that stimulating one partner's senses, for instance, by flashing a light in their eyes, would cause a corresponding brain response in the other, even if that person was shielded in another room. It was as if their nervous systems were sharing signals through an unknown channel. Skeptics dismissed these results as statistical blips or flawed methodology. But Grinberg stood his ground, preparing to carry out more ambitious, cross-continental experiments. Tragically, he disappeared right before traveling abroad for the next phase of his research. The abruptness of his vanishing act sparked rampant speculation. Did he run afoul of powerful interests? Were clandestine groups intrigued or threatened by his findings on consciousness? Or did he decide to step off the grid voluntarily, perhaps to refine his knowledge without scrutiny? We might never know. Yet the echoes of his work linger in the theories of scientists like Rupert Sheldrake, who proposed the concept of morphic fields that guide the growth and habits of living organisms, or Robert Lanza, who views consciousness as central to shaping the material world. Even the famed holographic universe idea from physicists like David Bohm resonates with Grinberg's lattice concept. Both revolve around the notion that reality is more of a grand projection, and every pixel in the projection contains the entire cosmic blueprint. If that's the case, then maybe we're all fractal reflections of an infinite whole, each carrying the capacity to reshape the very terrain we tread. At this point, you might be asking, so how do I tap into this hidden power? Where's the on switch for my cosmic editing tool? One key piece of Grinberg's puzzle was a meditation technique aimed at unifying every aspect of your awareness. Instead of focusing exclusively on your breath or visualizing a single calming image, he recommended that you keep layering on new dimensions of attention your entire body, the rhythm of your breathing, any thoughts rising in your mind, the emotional tone in your chest, even subtle external sounds or sensations. The goal is not to let yourself be carried away by any one sensation, but to observe them all in unison, like a conductor hearing every instrument in an orchestra at once. Initially, this might feel like juggling plates, especially if your thoughts and emotions usually yank you around. But with practice, something remarkable can happen. The chatter in your mind quiets, replaced by a sort of serene spaciousness. You become aware of your body, your breath, and your thoughts without automatically labeling them or getting lost in them. It's almost like slipping behind the scenes of your own mental stage, where the script of your usual experience is being written. From that vantage point, Grinberg believed, you can begin to see how your perceptions continually update reality, moment by moment. It's in this expanded state of awareness that you can, allegedly, reprogram the hologram by concentrating on a chosen vision or outcome. Maybe you want better health, a creative breakthrough, or a more harmonious relationship. If you can sustain a crystal clear, unwavering image or feeling of that reality for long enough, Grinberg claimed you'd be rooting it in the latis. Normally, we half-heartedly imagine a goal and immediately bury it under waves of doubt, contradictory beliefs, and scattered daydreams. But in this integrated state, where mind and heart are locked in coherence, you're sending a potent signal into the cosmic field. It's akin to a direct line to the control room. Of course, this is not a guarantee you'll sprout superpowers overnight. Even top-tier spiritual masters train for years, sometimes an entire lifetime, to reach the pinnacle of these abilities. And let's face it, the hustle and bustle of modern life tends to drag us away from any deeper introspection. Still, if there's truth to Grinberg's claims, each of us holds a fragment of that cosmic puzzle, and any sincere effort to connect with it could yield experiences that feel like everyday magic. Oddly enough, everyday life sometimes hints at these deeper truths. Have you ever thought of a friend you haven't spoken to in ages, only for them to call you hours later? Or woken up with a certain mood that perfectly matches unexpected events later in the day? Synchronicities like these might simply be brushed off as coincidences. But in Grinberg's view, they're tiny cracks in the facade of ordinary perception, offering glimpses of a subtler layer where everything is interwoven. Faith, he stressed, is also a powerful ingredient. Not necessarily religious faith in a deity, though that can work too, but an unshakable certainty that your intention is already a done deal in the grand scheme of things. This echoes the old adage, act as though it were impossible to fail. The old texts from varied traditions, be it the Bible, the Yogic Sutras, or mystical treatises from numerous cultures, emphasize that belief or conviction acts as a multiplier for your mental focus. Without it, your attempts to warp reality can feel like trying to cut down a tree with a dull axe. If we take Grinberg's perspective to heart, we might need to rethink how we approach problem solving in daily life. Rather than viewing obstacles as immovable bricks, we could see them as shapes in a malleable clay that our consciousness can resculpt. Admittedly, that's a tall order when you're knee-deep in bills or grappling with personal crises. But even a small shift, a gentle acceptance that your life script is not etched in stone, can open doors to creative solutions you'd never imagine otherwise. Interestingly, the more you explore these ideas, the more you might bump into ancient wisdom rephrased in modern terms. Buddhists have long taught that form is emptiness. Emptiness is form, suggesting our physical reality is more dreamlike than we think. The Hermetic axiom, all is mind, similarly posits that the universe is mental in nature. And quantum physics, with its perplexing wave-particle dualities and observer effects, hints that the very act of observing can shape what's observed. Grinberg's lattice concept elegantly slips into this tapestry, proposing that everything is interconnected through a hidden, indescribably vast matrix of information. You might wonder, does applying these teachings to your life require you to become a recluse meditating in the mountains? Not necessarily. Yes, spiritual disciplines from yoga to mindfulness practices can help strengthen that mental muscle. But even short daily rituals, like pausing to watch your breath for 5 minutes or consciously appreciating the sensations of water while washing dishes, can gently coax you toward deeper awareness. The key isn't to escape everyday routines, but to discover a hidden dimension within them. One of the biggest challenges is letting go of rigid beliefs about what's possible. If you're someone who's always identified as a purely logical thinker, you might find it hard to embrace the notion of intangible fields of information. But remember, logic and curiosity can coexist. A truly scientific mind remains open until evidence shows otherwise. Grinberg's approach was deeply scientific in its methodology, even though the phenomena he studied bordered on the mystical. He believed that rigorous observation, experimentation, and analysis don't vanish the moment you acknowledge the existence of a deeper, non-physical reality. On the contrary, the adventure is just beginning. Even if you remain skeptical, there's nothing to lose by testing these ideas in your own life. The next time you're feeling stuck or limited, Try practicing the integrative meditation Grinberg suggested. 1. Settle into a comfortable position. 2. Notice your breath, letting thoughts drift by without latching onto them. 3. Gradually expand your awareness to include your entire body, head, shoulders, chest, arms, legs, until you feel your bodily presence as one cohesive whole. 4. Then include any background noise, the subtle hum of your surroundings, and let that mingle with your awareness of breath and body. 5. If emotions arise, let them be, but observe them objectively, like a curious spectator. The idea is to keep adding elements, sensations, sounds, images into a comprehensive field of perception until your sense of I begins to soften. Once you find that sweet spot of expansive alertness, conjure an image or a feeling of something you want to manifest: better health, improved relationships, or just a wave of peace. Infuse that image with the emotional signature of it already being real. Then let it rest in your awareness, undisturbed. Keep gently returning to it if your mind strays, but do so with the calm confidence that this outcome is not some desperate wish, but an emerging reality. According to Grinberg, such practice, done routinely, can build the neural muscle memory to interface with the latis in a more deliberate way. Of course, real-life miracles are unpredictable. It's not like ordering an item online and expecting delivery in 2 business days. The cosmic blueprint has its own rules, or at least a complexity far beyond immediate comprehension. But take note of little shifts: a new lead, a surprising phone call, a sudden surge of creativity. Often, change begins subtly before culminating in big dramatic leaps. Like planting a seed in a garden, you don't see results the next morning, but over days and weeks, a sprout emerges. Through consistent tending, a continuous awareness and faith, that sprout can grow into something remarkable. In the grand scheme, even if you never achieve something as jaw-dropping as levitation or instantaneous healing, embracing the notion that your consciousness directly influences the fabric of reality can elevate your life from a passive existence to an active co-creation. You become a conscious participant in the ever-evolving cosmic dance, rather than a spectator locked into one rigid storyline. Just consider how empowering that shift in perspective can be for your mental and emotional well-being. So where does that leave us with Jacobo Grinberg's vanishing act? Perhaps the best tribute we can offer is to keep asking the bold questions he championed and to push the limits of our own beliefs. Even in his absence, his research beckons us to investigate corners of reality we've barely begun to chart. His life reminds us that sometimes truth is stranger than fiction, that the frontier between what's deemed possible and impossible might just be thinner than we realize. If we dare to step into that frontier, we might discover that reality is more like a dream we can learn to lucidly control, at least in part. We might learn that so-called miracles are not violations of the laws of nature, but glimpses into deeper laws we don't yet fully understand. And maybe, if we follow Grinberg's example, we'll find ourselves bridging the gap between ancient spiritual wisdom and cutting-edge science, opening up a world that's both more mystical and more real than anything we've ever known. In the end, Jacobo Grinberg's legacy urges us to look at life not as a fixed stage, but as a perpetually unfolding play in which we, as actors, also get to be co-writers. Each moment offers the chance to slip backstage and tweak the script. Perhaps the ultimate secret Grinberg wanted to share is that the mind doesn't just witness the universe, it collaborates in crafting its every twist and turn. Whether that collaboration manifests as small personal transformations or big cosmic wonders may depend on how fully we accept the possibility that we are, indeed, the architects of our own holographic reality. So go ahead, let your imagination roam. Embrace the idea that the next time you close your eyes and visualize your ideal life, you might be nudging the cosmic code in your favor. Test out the integrative meditation. Play with new ways of believing and perceiving, just to see where they lead. Life is short, and this universe is endlessly fascinating. Maybe all that stands between you and the extraordinary is a single, daring act of consciousness. Thank you for journeying through these ideas with me. Whether you're inspired, intrigued, or just plain curious, I hope you'll take at least a piece of Grinberg's message to heart. We're all explorers here, navigating the wild frontiers of the mind, unveiling the holographic masterpiece of creation, and awakening to our hidden potentials. If you've ever suspected that there's far more to reality than meets the eye, let this be your invitation to explore it for yourself. Keep believing, keep searching, and may your mind and heart unlock wonders you never dreamed possible. After all, in a holographic universe, even the smallest spark of consciousness can light up entire worlds.